Welcome to the Cincy Postcast presented by Gold Star, your winning team off the pitch. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's amazing episode, I got to tell you about our friends over at Streetside Brewery because, look, they have been with us all season long, and as we get into the postseason, who better to celebrate with than Streetside? Grab yourself Streetside at your nearest beer vendor, your alcohol dispensary, wherever you are buying that sweet, sweet brew, they've got you covered. Also, head on over to the tap room. It is a great spot. Streetside, they do some of the best beers in this city. They have a huge variety of beers. You got to check them out. If you need an excuse on Halloween night, tonight, when you're probably listening to this, they are doing trivia there at the tap room. Go check them out. They've also got pizza on Monday, the pizza from Fire Up Pizza. Go check them out. It's a really good time. Hey, when you're there, mention the postcast. They will knock $1 off of your beer, each beer, at the end of the night when you pay out your tab. So it's a good deal. Go support our friends over at Streetside. They've been, like I said, with us all season long. Go watch the playoff game from Streetside. That's a good time as well. So huge thank you to Streetside. Huge thank you to you, listener, for using that promo code. Now let's get on to this episode. Because on this episode, my goodness, the vibes could not be better. We just saw a fantastic FC Cincinnati performance. I almost said vintage, but then I remember Grayson critiques that take. This is a very, very fun episode. We are talking about an amazing goal. We are talking about some amazing almost goals. We're talking about a defense that has finally come into its own. Oh, so nice. It is so fun to talk about this one. Cannot wait for this weekend, which we also preview in part 3. It is a NYCFC sandwich, or I guess it's a Patreon question sandwich, and the bun is NYCFC. Don't worry about it. Anyway, part 1, NYCFC match review. Part 3, NYCFC match preview. Best of 3 series. And in the middle there, we have some really funny Patreon questions. It goes a little off the rails, but I think you'll enjoy it. You put all of that together, you got yourselves one heck of a postcast. And joining me on the Cincy Postcast, presented by Gold Star, I'm joined by the Chief, and I'm joined by Grayson. Chief, Grayson, boys, we did it.
We sold out. We sold out. We sold out. This has been my dream since I watched Wayne's World as a kid. We sold out. And I couldn't be happier than to sell out to a proud Cincinnati institution,
yes,
like Gold Star. Boys, I'm fired up. I thought I would just be fired up about the game, about a vintage FC performance, but no, we're winning off the pitch and on the pitch this week at the Post. And I'm thrilled to be here.
Grayson, this is the American dream.
It is the American dream. When people talk about the American dream, this is exactly what they are talking about. I couldn't get to a Gold Star restaurant today, but I did buy the chili packet from Kroger.
That's acceptable.
And made it at home today.
Okay.
So
nice. There we go.
Yeah. I actually did make it to a Gold Star, ran up to the Pleasant Ridge location, and enjoyed myself a coney and a chili salad. Gotta say, phenomenal lunch, power lunch. Highly recommend if there is a Gold Star in your neighborhood. The chili salad, excellent way to enjoy some chili that's a little more carb friendly out there. And coney always hits. The hot dogs at Gold Star. They're game changers.
Yes.
As I understand it, they do a real nice burger too.
Let me tell you, if you are hankering for a fast food burger, right? Like you're looking around, you see a Wendy's, you see a McDonald's. Those are your classic, like, I need a burger option. Gold Star has a drive-through. They have a 10 times better burger. It is not like the sad flat burger that you're going to get at one of these other places. Again, you're buying local, you're supporting local, and it is genuinely incredibly good. Like it is a worthwhile stop. It is worth going out of your way for. It is great. I like the chicken sandwich. It's a little different than like a Popeyes or a Chick-fil-A. It's a much more, what is the like the Indiana style like cutlet where it's like the pork chop cutlet or whatever is like the size of the dinner plate sticking off of the bun. That is sort of the experience of the chicken sandwich. It's a very large patty.
Like a chicken schnitzel kind of deal.
Yeah. It's actually way more in common with a chicken schnitzel than like Popeyes.
Cool. German heritage. Gotta love that.
Yes. It's very good. Very good.
I'm excited. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to saw that we're giving away some gift cards so that the people who may, we're not going to judge. We're not going to judge if, you've been told your entire life that, there's better places out there for your Cincinnati chili experience and you haven't given Gold Star a chance. You're going to win a gift card. You can go and don't have to take our word for it. You can go there and you can see like this is good stuff. And I'm excited. This is great. This is.
Yeah.
It feels different. I woke up today just feeling different because we are a sponsored podcast. We've always had sponsors, but now we're altering the logo. We're altering the logo, fellas.
Yes. Actually, I gotta work on that this evening. Something might have gone wrong on the Apple podcast side of things. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. But the artwork should be updated for everybody. So we got some new artwork going out there. Looks nice. If you're on Spotify, you should actually have already had that happen. I did that earlier on the day on Wednesday, which is exciting. A little slight tweak there. So yeah, no, it's a new look, it's a new future, and yeah, this feels like we're truly a part of the Cincinnati community with Cincy shirts, a staple in the community. Streetside brewery, you've got to tap into the Cincinnati brewing heritage, and who better to do it than literally the best brewery in Cincinnati, and now a chili parlor, Gold Star, going way back on this one, like. Other than P&G sponsoring a segment, I'm out of ideas on what we could do next. This is the peak.
Frisch's Big Boy.
Too soon. I'm going to now say that's an Atlanta franchise, and we can go ahead and disown them. Yeah. I just want to point out, by the way, I declared them dead like 2 months ago. And if you had all just had your funeral with me, all of this news would be old news to you.
And for folks who think that we've sold out, I mean, we did kind of sell the artwork, but yes. If it makes you feel better, we are so far away from this being like a justified use of our time. Like it's still a completely unreasonable thing that we're doing. So, don't keep listening. Know that the fact that you keep listening causes us to, keep throwing precious seconds of our lives away multiple times a week.
And if you're wondering how much the sponsorship is for, the answer is simultaneously way too much for the content we produce. And also way too little for the amount of mental energy we expend on this dumb show.
It is a fine line to walk when it comes to
somehow walks both.
It is much appreciated though, and it feels like I've had this in my head. When I jokingly replied to a Gold Star tweet and they liked it. That like many months ago, that getting Gold Star on board, it's like in Mad Men when they get a car. Like when they sign their first car brand, it's like what? It's like that legitimizes you, right? It's like, who knows what we could do? We might be doing like exercise groups, yoga studios, HVAC companies. The sky is the limit, I'll tell you. And, you know, if anybody's got any ideas about other kinds of companies that exist out there, let us know. Yeah. You know, maybe you own one or work for one.
Yeah. We've always got 30 to 60 seconds of quote unquote airtime to sell you. So
if you've ever wanted your company's name mentioned within 5 minutes of something so stupid or frankly offensive that you can't imagine somebody saying it out in public, we're taking sponsorship. We have capacity. I'll tell you that.
We have capacity. We have inventory. In the Discord this past week, there was any number of suggestions for additional podcasts we could start. And folks, your boy may have significant availability this time a week from now. So
God willing.
Sir, how dare you?
There's a secret hope of mine that Chief will just take over the post and this will become the full-time gig.
We're gonna need to sell a lot more burgers if that's the case.
Well, let's go.
I'm into it. Let's do it.
Oh my God.
But I think we should say, and we should say this in all sincerity, which, you know, you do have to sometimes specify in all sincerity.
Yes.
Much like when we announced this, we had to sort of specify, we're not joking. Gold Star really is sponsoring the show. This is not a bit. This is not for the lulz. This is actually real.
Multiple DMs and text messages, me having to explain to fairly important people that it was legitimate. We were not bullshitting.
Right.
People signed stuff.
Yeah.
People put pen to paper on this. And I'll tell you, this is also in all sincerity. I couldn't be prouder. I have been telling people in my private life about this.
Yeah. Grayson, who doesn't admit to doing a podcast to anyone, is suddenly putting both hands up in the air and sort of doing a little victory celebration.
Like, look what I did. Look what I built and created on my own.
I'll tell you, the Chief, I know you're like mid-sentence on a point here, but I'm just going to continue to derail this. I really appreciated that of the three of us, it was me that drew up the contract and signed everything. That was very responsible of all of us.
Get a text from Kevin. It's like, hey, is there a lawyer around here that can look this contract over? I mean,
just, make sure I didn't sign us up for something stupid. You used the wrong word here, a Latin phrase I didn't quite comprehend.
Force mujer.
What does indemnification mean?
And hey guys, how do you feel about the North District of Texas? Because that's where we're litigating if this all goes pear-shaped.
The Post is relocating to Delaware, just if it comes up in future.
Don't worry about it. Like
every episode, thanks to Kevin's drafting ability, every episode from here on out is now like a work for hire for Gold Star. We've assigned all intellectual property and liabilities. That was the key.
In perpetuity.
Because there's going to be something at some point that needs to be made somebody else's problem.
Sir, this is a hot dog too far. We need to pull the plug right now. In all seriousness, thank you to everyone for listening. Rest assured, you're going to hear more mentions of Gold Star as opposed to just times I've been trying to sneak it in over the last couple of weeks. Glad somebody picked up on that. But we do this for the love. We do this for the club. We do this for the team. We do this for the city. We do this for the 12s. So thank you all for continuing to listen. And if this makes you want to turn the podcast off, I can't blame you. So
now that we have a couple of 12s, should we group them into 12s so that there's like
a gross?
Yeah, like
which is 12-12.
No, gross is the content we produce. It's not the
No, gross is the audience, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Joe Biden, calm down here.
A 12 of 12s. No, this is fun.
And you know what's best about it too is we get to announce this. You know how sad this would have been to announce this partnership if the FC would have lost.
Look,
where it's like, hey guys, it was another shitty performance by the FC. But guess what? We've personally got great news, even if you all are mad. No, they played a vintage 2023 style FC game. Vibes were immaculate. Vibes of the Teak were immaculate. And I was just stoked to be able to say, you know what? This just gets to be a good vibes episode that we're announcing our partnership with Gold Star, the preeminent chili brand and burger brand here in the greater Cincinnati area. And it's all on a celebratory performance for the FC. I'm just, this is, if you're not happy listening to this episode, check your pulse.
It could not be better right now. Like this was, not just a win, not just a playoff win, not just beating New York City FC on their sports losing equinox where their MLB, NBA, and NFL team and MLS team all lost on the same day. Very impressive. Everything's good. Everything's groovy. This is exciting times, and FC Cincinnati looked good. This was the path forward going into the playoffs. Even at the end of the year, that was the argument, right? Like they brought in good defensive pieces. The midfield has good players. They might be tired, but they have good players. There are fluid attackers on this team. There's Lucho Acosta. You're not out of it so long as he's on the field and healthy. And wouldn't you know it, all of that was true. All of that came true at the same time. And it was 1-0. But in terms of XG, Grayson, I believe you pointed this one out. This was their best XG single game performance this year. This was a team that, they gave up maybe 2 chances to NYCFC late in the game, but otherwise the defense looked good.
Yeah. So on the XG, and as people know, we really look to XG as the primary.
Always loved XG.
Primary driver.
I've been saying this the
statistically. We call it the XG postcast sometimes. So this is on FOTMob. It was 3.4 in our favor, which is the best that they've done all year on XG, except for the 6-1 against Miami, which was, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it was like a 3-7.
So not far off.
Not far off. And then NYCFC's XG was 0.32, which I think I saw a guy say this is like bottom 5 of NYCFC this year. But the differential there is the best differential that FC Cincinnati had all season.
Nice.
So there's going to be folks who, or I've seen already people describe the game as like a, quote unquote vintage FC Cincinnati game where they're defensively sound and they, steal a goal off in transition off of a giveaway and win 1-0. And that's true. They were defensively sound. The goal came off of a takeaway and a quick transition.
Yep.
But it doesn't tell the whole story because there were more goals in this game than they scored. This game was an ass kicking. It was a 22 shots to 6 shots. We had 6 big chances. NYCFC had none. I think the possession was pretty even, which is favorable to us because NYCFC is a team that does want the ball more than we necessarily do.
Yeah.
So, you had Orshano hit the post. You had a couple of breakaways that didn't quite turn into something. There was, I think Kubo had a shot that he could have done more with.
Got blocked right at the last second there.
He had a point blank header opportunity that he just sort of mistimed to jump on.
Yep.
Yeah, there were a couple. I mean, God, there's a trillion things we could talk about.
Yep.
The corners were good, and there were some good opportunities in the air in the box, which is really great to see again from a team that has not been particularly threatening in corner kick situations. They're fine in dead ball situations. Those free kicks near the box are fantastic. It's the corners that have always been in trouble. And
Davey had a really good chance late in the game too, off his head as well. That was in good position for. Yeah, I agree with Grayson. Like, this was, I think ass kicking is the right word for this. And they were sound in all phases of the game. They weren't really troubled until very, very late on when they made the decision that they needed to pack in and play for the 1-0 victory. And they made some substitutions that were interesting that I don't think helped their case in terms of making sure that the match was drama free near the end. But in reality, it starts with the lineup that they run out there. And we had said after decision day and we had said after the show after decision day, that this was the lineup that we wanted to see from this team. We wanted to see that same lineup run back out. It's a lineup that solves a lot of problems in terms of getting the best 11 players onto the field and limiting the number of players doing things that they aren't good at. You're not asking Luca Orishano to defend quite as much by having him up top. And so they break the streak of different lineups finally in the playoffs. And this is what we wanted to see. We wanted to see a lineup that was featuring the four main attackers, who I would say, Luca, Lucho, Yuya, and Yamil Assad. And what you ended up seeing in this game was incredibly creative play from those four players in particular. Lucho ends up having the assisted goal to Yamil. But just as we were talking about right here, you had good chances from Yuya Kubo. You had good chances, two really, really good chances from Luca Orishano, who...
Luca Orishano almost had frankly, goal of the year.
Yeah.
Again.
The one...
the double back heel?
No, that was good. That was good.
Legit too.
I'm talking about the one where he got the ball in our half and dribbled all the way down to the NYCFC box and then hit the far post.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Man. But like there were multiple chances that Luca had where he should have scored one of them, like no doubt in my mind. And so that's
apparently he was sick.
Yeah, that was the flu game.
I saw it. He was sick. He looked sick.
Hey,
that's what you want. We're a process-oriented podcast, and the process of those four players playing together, it produced good results. The way that they had it deployed, it made the team even look more dangerous on set pieces. Because when you have Luca up top and he's freed from the defensive responsibilities for covering a half of the field, it frees him to be more creatively deployed on set pieces to do different things, moving the defense around.
They need to work on like the corners and on some of the stuff. They do need to work on, it seems, that their timing when a guy is coming back for a ball. There were so many where they were called offside for a guy coming back from an offside position to like receive a pass on the channels. But and I had to watch this game on TV, so I didn't have necessarily angles. I'm assuming those were all correctly called. You couldn't really tell, but
I was able to sit for the second half right in line with the 18-yard box as FCC was attacking. There was nothing in the second half that was particularly controversial when it comes to offside. And there was one in the first half that the entire crowd moaned, but the second that pass was hit, I had said out loud, that's offside. So I don't know. Everything went according to plan as far as I could tell, but
yeah, it was, this needs to be the lineup. They just need to keep running this lineup out until something physically forces a player out of the lineup. And hopefully they don't see that. I know that's, we say that, but I mean, specifically the back three and the top 4. Like that's really, I think they found something in both those positions. And, sort of we're meandering around just breaking this game down. Shout out teenage Hadebe. That's the best he's looked since coming to this team. He looked athletic. He looked fast. He showed unbelievable recovery speed and made some Yerson Mosquera-esque recovery tackles where you look at it and it's like anyone that's slightly less talented than that is picking up a card or worse in the situations that he's tracking back. And boy, is that freeing when you know that you've got a center back that can hustle back and break up an attacking play like that. Incredible. It was one of those, I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game kind of moments right there. That was, if that's what he's going to look like now that he's sort of meshed in with the team and fully fit, just sign me up for more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know he played in MLS for a few years and was kind of a high profile player for Houston, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not certain that I ever saw him play one time before he came to FC Cincinnati. And then obviously, he had to ease in with the fitness and everything and didn't really get a good run out until the game against Philly. But let's just say that he's in form and this is just what he's going to look like from now on.
Yeah.
I'll choose to believe that is the case, right? Yeah. Right up until it isn't.
Yeah, because I'm choosing to believe that because he signed for next year as well. And like that kind of performance with Miazga back and Cheeto healthy, like as well.
That's the funny thing is like, this backline is so good right now. It's really hard to think that next year, potentially, I understand Robinson is kind of a mystery here, and maybe this explains it, but like, it's really hard to look at one of these 3 guys and say, all right, you have to sit. Like, you're obviously the one that needs to sit down right now. We have Matt Miazga coming back. I think you have to. If all 4 of these guys are on the team, Miazga gets the starting spot so long as he's physically capable. But boy,
I believe a fully fit Matt Miazga would win a starting spot. But
champagne problem.
Yeah. Cheeto off the bench. Is that what we're looking at? Or it lets you give a guy a night off every 4th game, right? Like we give him sort of the anti-starting pitcher treatment, and maybe that keeps the legs fresh going into the playoffs. Something to think about there. So, yeah, this was a fantastic performance. And Chief, I'm so glad you bring up Mosquera because you were not the only person that I saw that a couple of times on Twitter, a couple of times in the Discord. If you squint, you can see Mosquera. Some people saying they haven't seen an athletic center back like that since Mosquera. Some fantastic images coming out after the fact. One in particular of Hadebe doing an overhead kick clearance pass that was awesome. Just really awesome to see. And it's nice to have like full confidence in the back line to chase down and stick in a tackle in the box and not give up a penalty. Like that has been a theme of both Keller and Murphy's time in FC Cincinnati, is giving up dumb penalties, tricky penalties like that. And I'm confident in all these guys being able to pull that off. So that is really good to see, especially if this team is going to make a move deeper into the playoffs.
And I don't want to overshadow the fact either, though, that Miles and Cheeto both played outstanding as well.
Yeah.
It's just the teenage had a couple of plays that jumped off the field where
he had flair, right? Like, plus he made a lot of dazzling plays, which, as we had talked about, if they're going to have a way to fill up that left side gap that's going to be left, no matter who you have at left wing back, it was going to require Hadebe, stretching his legs and getting to places, and he's fast.
Yeah.
He's fast. Remember like last year, there were so many times where Mosquera would make up a ton of space and outrunning strikers and to balls, and I wouldn't say he looked as fast as Mosquera, but he definitely looked like if there was any chance of him getting to the ball first, he was going to do it.
Yeah. He looks like frankly, it just looks like a gigantic left back back there. Like, he's very fast. He's covering a lot of space on that side. And of course he has to, because Yamil Assad is truly coming into his own. Like, especially when you look him up, and I've mentioned this before on FB Ref in his like comparison to other left backs in his sort of profile. He's in the 99th percentile in everything when it comes to attacking. You definitely saw that again against NYCFC, but he has, I think, very quietly been one of the reasons why this team didn't completely fall off the rails when it could have. Like, he has provided an attacking spark that has been missing, that has filled in nicely when Orishano's been had to move around. His relationship with Lucho, like, you go back to when he first signed in March, and the assumption was that he was just like, we were doing Lucho's buddy a solid to stay warm, to try to find another team to sign on to. Maybe Assad might get picked up by Indianapolis or Louisville or something. And now, I mean, if these playoffs go well, he'll be the fourth 10-goal scorer on this team. Like, he's at 7 goals.
You know who he is? He is the anti-Aaron Bupenza. In this regard, not because he didn't get knocked out at the club one night, but just this idea that, like, if you just were rating both players on pure talent level, who is the more talented of the two? The answer is Aaron Bupenza. He is a more talented player, better pedigree. He's made more money around the world. But if you're asking who is the better fit for FC Cincinnati, and that means a lot of different things. It means like, how well does his skill set complement what it is that this team wants from the player in his position? How well does he complement the playing styles of the other players around him on the field? How does his chemistry work with the other players in the field? That's sort of like that sixth sense, that Jedi thing of picking up between himself and the other players, figuring out what they want to do and knowing it before it happens. He's S tier on that, where Bupenza was just a straight out F-. And in a salary capped league like MLS, sometimes, not always the case. Like, do I wish they had a high profile, big time striker that played well? Yeah. But in a league like this, I think so often we as fans, and sometimes even people that are in front office, that they overlook the importance of fit and what that player looks like as a force multiplier with other people on the team. Almost like as much as I hate to say it, almost like those lines on a FIFA Ultimate Team. Like, what color are the lines? And with Assad, it's green lights all the way, babe.
It's the thickest, brightest neon green line you've ever seen between him and Lucho. It's just the two of them, basically two different players occupying the same mind on that one. It's impressive. It's so impressive to see it. And it's so funny that, like, Assad ends up being the Barreal replacement. And I guess Orishano then is our Brandon Vasquez replacement. Like, he doesn't have the exact same skill set.
This is to keep trying to figure out these comparisons here.
I like this because he can drop deep like Brandon could. He can hold the ball up. He's more tricksy than Brandon, much better foot skills, doesn't have the header skills, but that's fine. It makes up for it on the other side. And I guess that makes Kubo Aaron Bupenza / Brenner. So fine. It works somehow. It absolutely works. God, I mean, we didn't name the lineup, and I think there's no reason to because we've sung the praises of everybody. So let's go to the two in the middle. Wobodo and Buka. FotMob did not like their game. I'm looking at the ratings here. This was another vintage Wobodo performance. He was a menace in the midfield. Somehow managed to get out of there without a yellow card. It just felt inevitable. And I believe it's Woboda. Maybe it was Buka wins the ball to start
the process.
Yeah. Wins the ball to start the goal.
It was just a straight up like strip.
Yeah.
You know, he just went up and said, "This ball is mine now." And
look at me. I'm the captain now.
It was awesome. Like, it was really good to see those guys firing on all cylinders. Buka even had a pretty good shot. I want to say late in the game. I always like
Buka's game.
Yeah.
He had a hero shot, and I appreciate that he took it. Yes. I appreciated that in that moment he thought he was the main character of the episode. I love that energy for Pavel. I hope he keeps doing that.
It's one of those things where, like, I guess the NFL equivalent is like a random Hail Mary flea flicker, not Hail Mary, random flea flicker in the middle of the game. Just like, you're telling the defense, like, you need to respect this a little bit. I need you to be a little more hesitant when you charge.
I think what happens with, and I know Grayson keeps correcting me on this, but it's always going to be default to Pavel just because I'm a Star Trek nerd. Pavel. He gets into his mind every so often. It's almost like a heat check in basketball.
Yes.
Where he's feeling it a little bit. And the way he feels it is very different than the way Lucho does. Because Lucho, when Lucho's feeling it, he's going to start making moves on people. He's going to try nutmegs. He's going to try and like kick it over your foot that you're sticking out and just like sort of put it up in the air. Pavel, when he's feeling it, he's like, I'm going to take a rip from somewhere on this field. I don't care if I'm close. I don't care what my angle looks like. I'm going to kick this thing as hard as I can. And let's just see how this goes. And that's how you know he is really having himself a game, is when he feels confident enough just to rip one from 25 yards away.
Oh,
great
so
sign.
Good. I love it. I absolutely love it. God, I mean, and finally, we can touch on Roman at the very end, but I'll mention Yedlin from the starting lineup was fine. Put in a workman shift.
Had a really good chance to score early in the game.
Yeah.
Bombing down the right-hand side, which should have been like a sign a little bit that this was going to be a pretty good night for the FC, because I do tend to notice that the games they played well over the summer, and it's a weird thing that when this team started to click over the summer, and I thought about this when we'll get to the news about Yedlin possibly, his availability for the next game, but it got me to thinking that when this team really started to click over the summer was when they finally started to feel more comfortable playing the ball down Yedlin's side. And they don't do it a lot, but just every so often that we'll have a big switch back to Yedlin's side, and he'll come wide open down the right-hand side and get forward into a dangerous position, put a dangerous ball into the box. That was sort of when this team started to click, was when they felt more comfortable doing that. And right out of the chute in this game, they got Yedlin involved. And that should have been a sign that, okay, maybe some of the early summer vibes are back a little bit. Maybe they went and they're feeling that a little bit right now.
Yeah. The passing in particular from the outside center backs down to the wing backs was phenomenal and persistent. Like, they were doing it all night. It was like, we got some speedy boys on the outside, run as fast as you can. We'll lob one down to you. And it doesn't need to work all the time. Like, if nothing else, it pins them back. And there were plenty of times where NYCFC was stuck taking a throw in sort of within 18 yards of their own end line. But when it works, like these guys can beat one or two guys, the wingbacks can beat one or two guys, swing the ball back to Lucho, and anything's possible. And that was a really good recipe for success. It helped pin back New York's wide, players as well, which was good. Kind of keep the pressure off the back line from those outside positions. It was just really, really well done. Roman, just to touch on him. Fine. Had a couple of big saves. One in particular I can think of was stuck one-on-one with, was that Wolf or Martinez? I don't remember who it was, but he's one-on-one with one of them, comes up big, makes a big block. Was really, really good to see. And honestly,
he had a solid game. He wasn't asked to do a ton, which is a credit to the back line and the midfield of FC Cincinnati. But when he was called on, he avoided any of the really sort of damning mistakes that has sort of come to unfortunately be a trademark of his during the last half of this season, where, I think all you can say about it is that the malaise that existed within the FC Cincinnati dressing room, whatever it was, Roman was not impervious to that and started making some mistakes that were uncharacteristic for his play since coming to the FC. And he avoided that in this game. I wonder to a certain extent how much of that is becoming more familiar with Cheeto, becoming more familiar with having more time with Hidabi, and just understanding where your back line and where everyone's going to be positioned and what they're doing. I don't know to what degree that gives him more confidence that was lacking previously. But it was great to see.
Yeah, it was awesome. I guess the only two players we haven't talked about. This is a very funny way to sort of like go through the game. But hey, you know what? We've got two guys left to talk about. Yuya Kubo, Lucho Acosta. I think in some ways it's hard to talk about one without the other because of how fluid this attack really was. Kubo just continues to remind us that we've had a designated player striker on the books since 2020, and we have been rewarded as a fan base, as a team, to see him into the starting 11 as a striker. Is dangerous. He's goal dangerous. He plays very well with Orishano and Acosta and Assad. And I got to say, shout out to Damon Gumbert representing the Post, making it to the post-game press conference with Pat Noonan, was actually able to ask Pat Noonan about these four players and their passing in particular going forward, like for this game and going forward. And Pat basically said that it's these four players that are going to be key to maintaining this attack and ultimately how far this team will go in the playoffs. Like, this is really awesome to see. It's a damn shame, and maybe this is a conversation for the offseason, that it took this long. Maybe there's a criticism to be had there to come up with these four guys, or these three attackers in particular, with Assad as a regular starter. But God, Kubo as a striker and then Lucho Acosta makes magic in this one. He's the reason why that this is a 1-0 game. And man, it's good to see Lucho back.
It's the interesting part of this is that it's hard. I agree with your take that it's hard to talk about Kubo and Lucho as separate from one another, because part of the appeal of playing Yuya Kubo and part of the allure of playing Yuya Kubo is that he just plays so well with Lucho.
Yep.
And he fits so well in this pairing with Luca Orishano up top. They have complementary skill sets. I noted it online, and I was talking to a friend during the game on a text message thread with this idea too, that it's an interesting striker pairing with Luca and Yuya, because They both can play with the ball. They both pass well. They both move well off the ball. And Luka is pure offense. Yuya can drop back and play defense. And it frees you to do interesting things with how you position them on the field. Like if they want Yamil to drift in more centrally, you can drift out wide to cover defensive responsibilities. It makes everything a little more fluid in the attack. And Kubo didn't produce a goal, but in that quattro or that quad, all four parts were integral, I think, to the attack. And all four parts played off one another. And yeah, I think that he makes Lucho better on the field when he's out there in a way that I don't think any of the other strikers that we have played do. Like, that's no shade to Kevin Kelsey, who I think has played well in spurts for this team. But I don't think he plays as well with Yuya Kubo, with Lucho as Yuya Kubo does. I think similar from Gioacchini, I don't think he plays as well with Lucho as Kubo does. So
yeah,
it's you almost have to talk about all four of them at the same time as one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at the stats, Kubo actually has more touches in New York's box than any of the other three, Acosta, Orishano, or Assad, which is interesting. He is sort of the tip of the spear, dare I say, the tip of the sword of this formation and of these attackers. Do we want to talk about the goal specifically, or?
Yeah, here's what I want to talk about the goal. Was this a Lucho Acosta goal?
Because you have to call bank. Right. You have to call bank.
Do we know that he didn't?
I did not see him call bank. I'll tell you that.
I don't. Assad seemed to call bank for him.
We've seen him use his teammate's forehead as an instrumentality of his own creative skills before.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he just blasted at Assad.
Right.
Yeah.
Assad didn't do a damn thing.
He has no thought in his head that, like, well, I'm going to pass him and he's going to finish this. He's thinking, if I hit this hard enough, it'll bounce off of Yamil's face and into the goal.
Right.
That's
exactly go in.
It's what he intended to do. Like he didn't, in a way that I think other crosses to give a guy's opportunities to head the ball aren't like maybe it's a little nuanced, but it is a little different.
Yeah.
It's either the greatest goal that Lucho has ever scored or the easiest goal that Yamil has ever scored. And that's probably going back to like U5 soccer. My man just had to stand there.
Yeah, it's one of those where it really doesn't matter where Assad was looking or standing. So long as his head was in that coordinate, it was going to go in. That was going in. It's funny. Tons of people, everybody made the comparison to the Moreno goal last year, where he uses Moreno as a backboard to score for himself.
Yeah, see, that wasn't the one I thought of here. I'm gonna see if you. I'm thinking the Sergio Santos goal where he just blasted Brandon Vasquez in the face with a ball.
Dom Badji. That's the one I was thinking of.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry.
Badji stiff arms an Orlando player out wide and blasts a cross in from way farther out. Blasts a cross in and hit so hard that it really looked like Vasquez was in pain. But yeah, this is a wild one coming off of as we said, Wobodo takeaway in the middle of the field. Passes it over to is it Orishano who starts it? I don't have it up in front of me.
I think Assad might start it.
starts it. Assad starts it, passes it out wide to Kubo, who takes a shot, and it misses wide. And it does one of those sort of like looping, flat parabolas from high school math that sort of goes near the goal, but sneaks its way back out. And it's Lucho that, from about the edge of the box, blasts it into Yamil's forehead to go up 1-0 early in the second half. And again, it was nice too, because when this team was truly firing on all cylinders earlier this season, they were notorious for scoring quickly coming out of half. We did it again. It was really good to see that again.
Okay, so Kevin, just on the goal.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Assad picks it up off of Obina's
takeaway.
Okay. Finds Orishano, who immediately finds Kubo. Kubo then plays the ball. It goes across the goal mouth. It may have caught a deflection, and then Lucho finds Yamil. So Yamil actually does a really great job on this play of not just picking the ball off the takeaway, but when he lays it off to Orishano, continues his run into the box.
And stays on side too.
Yep.
Which is also a huge part of this.
Yeah. I was wondering about that. I do think that the angle isn't great and the goalie is out of goal. So it's a little difficult. He looks at least in line with he's definitely behind one defender. He looks at least in line with probably the goalie and another defender. Mm-hmm. And then potentially he's also behind the ball. Although the angles aren't, the angle of the video just isn't good.
Yeah.
But it does feel like most likely there's no question of him being onside there.
Yeah. When I watching it live, I thought he was behind the ball. So that was my only thought there. So yeah, I mean, hell of a play to get this one over the line, and there should have been more. So yeah, Chief, what were you saying? The story off the field. Yeah.
There's two stories off the field. Number one, DeAndre Yedlin has to come off at the half with a back issue. Powell comes on for, I believe, the entire second half, and I think played very well.
Yeah.
When you don't ask a lot of Alvis Powell going forward, and as long as they've got the play from Yamil being more attack minded going down the other side, I think it frees Powell to be a little more playing in his style, which is more defensive. So as we record here on Wednesday night, Yedlin did not train today and is tracking as if he will not be available for selection on Sunday, which it isn't the end of the world. I would say of all the positions that they have,
right.
You obviously would rather have DeAndre Yedlin out there 1,000 times out of 1,000. Powell is not the worst backup in that capacity right there.
If Yedlin has one fan, it's me. But I do think that if the team plays well, I would lean toward holding him out, even if he maybe can go. Because I think if the team plays well, they will be fine, especially against NYCFC with Alvis.
And I would rather have DeAndre available for a potential third deciding game at home.
That's exactly it.
At full fitness, which I think would be way more important than trying to rush him back for a game where, frankly, on a baseball field, a large part of what DeAndre Yedlin's game is, that the straight line speed, I think is nullified a little bit by the dimensions of the field that you're playing on right there.
Yeah, and anybody hurt, I don't want to offer the opportunity to tweak something when running from one level of grass to another level of grass.
Or as Pat Brennan said on the Sunday show, like the turf is awful. It's baseball turf. It's not even the turf that's there for both baseball and soccer. It's single purpose turf there. The other interesting thing is, so Santos comes into this game as well. Joe Aquini comes into this game as well. And then Corey Baird comes in very late and not at striker. Which, okay. What am I to make of this? And is this further evidence that, man, did we not get the depth we needed in the transfer window? And also, like, not Dotto? Like, we couldn't have Pinto on the bench for this either? Like, that that Corey Baird is the option. Not like, I would understand it if they were chasing a goal. And it's like, yeah, get all your attacking pieces on the field. We've bitched about this playoff format before. Losing 5-0 is the same as losing 1-0. You may as well throw everything in the kitchen sink out to try to get your goal back.
Right.
But bringing Corey Baird on at the end of a game trying to see it out, and he immediately turns the ball over and creates a scoring opportunity for NYCFC. What are we doing here with that?
I think Corey's a veteran of the league. He's been around the block. He's got a lot of playoff experience. I assume they don't have a backup left back if Orishano is starting up top and Yamil Assad is playing on the left.
Right.
So you're playing somebody out of position. It's late in the game, and I think there's just like a thought that you want somebody, and I know it, as you said, it didn't necessarily go out this way immediately, but you're thinking, who's got the most experience, who's got the most situational awareness, who's the least likely to make a dumb mistake, and who's got kind of the tactical awareness, let's say, to be able to see the game out in a helpful way. And yeah, I would go for Assad at left wing back. I'd go Baird over Dotto or Pinto, I think,
or Halsey,
or Halsey. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it, as Corey Baird is a veteran you can bring on late in a number of positions, who is going to help you see a game out. That's not the role anybody envisioned for him when he signed with the team, but they're thin at a number of places. So it's just, who's going to be the most likely to figure it out on the fly. And he's your most veteran. He's like the most veteran player at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he's the most veteran player, but it's vibes incredibly high. Happy we won. There's always got to be one but in any sort of so that we're not just glazing this team. It's just so weird how many players, and I understand your bench gets shorter as the games get more important. That's true in every sport, that as the difficulty and the intensity wraps up, the benches get shorter. It's weird how many players they're carrying on this roster that Pat Noonan just doesn't trust to put out there.
It's something to monitor as the playoffs go on, because lack of depth can be a killer.
Yeah.
As we found out last year to our peril. The good news is that like these games are so spaced out, like annoyingly so, that fitness doesn't and rotation needs don't really play a lot into this.
If you get out of this round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you win the second game in a row.
Yep.
I'll have like 3 weeks off, basically.
Mini off season. Hey, Gold Star, good job signing up.
Hey, it'll still be the playoffs. All right. That's the key.
3 weeks of postseason content.
I do think Baird and Joe Aquini both fill this role that, like, I guess is like the equivalent of a middle reliever in baseball, which is like they're not good enough to be a starting pitcher and they're not good enough to be a closer, but like you just need them to go out there and not screw up for a little bit. And that's basically what they're being asked to do.
Yeah. Go
out there, make sure, Assad's able to be healthy for the next time out. Don't break anything. Yeah. Just be bang on average.
Assad picked up a late yellow, so you don't want him to do anything stupid. The game was getting a little chippy there at the end. I guess the other thing, too, that's probably worth thinking about, and this is why Pat Noonan gets paid to coach, and I just, I get to give away Gold Star gift cards. I mean, imagine that New York scores a late equalizer. Yeah. Somebody's got to take the PKs. Corey Baird, I'm guessing, is probably a decent option when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having another striker out there somewhere to help out, especially as you're starting to pull guys off with Joe Aquini coming in and things like that. So yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Chief, speaking of giving away Gold Star gift cards,
yes,
should we do our Gold Star shining moment of the match? Because I think we should. I think it is time for the Gold Star shining moment of the match. Now, this is the exciting thing.
You know what we need for this right here?
Music.
We need to get Jonah out of retirement to do like one of the KLR style jingles for the Gold Star shining moment.
God, we do.
He's got to be Jonesing to do one. It's been so long since he's done like a segment.
He's got to have one. If not, I will demand Das Harks comes out of retirement for one. But in the meantime, because I don't think I'm going to get one tonight,
no.
We have our Gold Star shining moment of the match. This is exciting. We took nominations from the internet, from the dear listeners, and I have a bunch of them here. From here, we can pick our favorite, but these are the official nominees that I am presenting to you. We'll start over on Instagram, which, by the way, folks, we have an Instagram account. Give us the old follow.
You're not going to list them all, are you?
No, I pulled out a handful of my favorite. I got like 4 or 5 from each. The Instagram ones are pretty short. Hobo Jobo said Haglin drumming in the Bailey was his Gold Star shining moment of the match.
Don't hate that.
A great moment. That was really cool to see.
We've been asking for it.
Yeah. And
We've been asking for it repeatedly, and it happened.
Super cool to see that out there. Ars Lovin had Lucho scoring a goal off of Assad's forehead. I mean, it's tough to beat that moment. Bearcat Palmer responding, teenage slide tackle that was all ball in the first half. Yeah, again, people loving Teenage Hadabi out there. And a dinosaur saying, and this is a good moment too, Bootsy pulling the sword full extension. That was cool. It did prompt me to think, had he already done it? And the answer is no.
We did a Bootsy Tifo one time, which I think is where we get tripped up there.
He was on the Tifo, and then he was in the stadium, I think in the owner's box. So he was on the big screen, but was not a sword puller there. Then I got a couple from Twitter. Paul said, gotta be Sam Green capturing Teenage Hadabi's breakout game for us with this shot, and then tweeted a photo of that aforementioned overhead kick, which is a really cool moment. Ian Foster saying, and I did not see this, so I'm glad Ian pointed this out. After the match, Cheeto aggressively pointing to the crest on his kit, walking towards the crowd, picking up a scarf I could only imagine was tossed onto the pitch for him by a supporter, drapes it around his neck, makes me more pumped that he's with our club. You gotta love the new guys falling in love.
Yeah, make me believe it matters as much to you as it matters to me.
Yes, absolutely. Caitlin Hardy adding, Pat doing the Angels in the outfield arm flapping to slow the game down. I noticed this as well. Absolutely. Right towards the end of the game, Pat Noonan had to remind them all, hey, we're winning. Chill the hell out. Please don't lose the ball in transition.
Oh, come on. Has you never seen an FC Cincinnati game? We don't understand the corner flag. We don't do that. It's not really our thing.
I'd maybe spend like that last day of training before you travel to New York. I just have everybody just sit and maybe eat a meal or a snack in the corner. Get them used to just being in the corner, spending time in the corner of the field, understand that it's safe. It's like introducing a cat to a new environment, like leave treats out there. Like, it's okay. You're not in danger. You can stand here for a while.
You don't have to vamos so aggressively.
Exactly. I got 2 more for you. Gary's Army, this was very self-indulgent, so I've got to mention this one. His Gold Star shining moment of the match was the post-Cincy getting an after-game interview, part of the press conference, and another sponsor. Hey, thanks, Gary's Army. And Adam Howell saying, when the Luchinator acquired target on Yamillionaire's forehead and rifled a shot at it for the ricochet goal, reminded me of when he used Moreno's head to play a wall pass pass for a goal last season. Some good moments to pick from on this one. Do any of these stand out for you to win? And I kid you not, $50 of a Gold Star gift card. That's a lot. That's more than I thought we'd be able to give out. That'll last you a little bit.
I think we got to go with Luchinator hitting the Yamillionaire.
Yeah, I was about to say using the Yamillionaire name. I'm pleased the club has bought into the Yamillionaire. I think it's a phenomenal nickname in a
shout out to Abby, I believe. Came up with it. I love it. I'll tell you, I love it. And when I saw the club use it, I was tickled.
Yes. Yeah, that's the winner. The Luchinator and the Yamillionaire.
There was a really good GIF too that accompanied this that did not make it all the way over of a the stereotypical sniper laser pointer making its way onto somebody's head. That's exactly how I imagine Lucho visualized it.
Target acquired.
Congratulations, Adam Howell. I will get in touch with you once the episode goes live to arrange the gift card, making it your way. So there you go, folks.
Enjoy a burger on us.
Yeah, enjoy a burger.
Several burgers on us.
Yes. I don't know that they do a burger crate, but you could sort of construct one yourself for $50. But yeah, we'll do this every week. If there's a game, obviously related to the game. But if there's not a game, we'll just have a Gold Star Shining Moment of the week where you can highlight your favorite moment from the MLS playoffs or around wherever. I'm not going to...
Just life. Just life, man.
Just a good moment that happens. Yeah. But yeah, respond to us on social media, wherever you see the official post, and you're entered to win.
Did they sign up for the off season? Because if they did, we need to get them to do the Gold Star Shining Moment of the week. But once every so often, it needs to be just something you screwed up real bad, like my Gold Star Shining Moment of the week. Like, I left the oven on in my house. Something happened, or just like I screwed up real hard. I could use $50 to Gold Star. I'm going to share my screw up, and that's my shining moment of the week.
Well, the Gold Star Shining Moment of Rebel Moon Part 2.
Oh, no. I will mail one of the gift cards to Zack Snyder.
No, they don't want him as a customer, I don't think.
He might be banned, actually, probably for the better. So there you go. Gosh, vibes could not be higher, right? After this game, like, I know the vibes weren't great. In fact, we were criticized for being negative for the hype up playoff show with Pat Brennan. Are we full 180 from then? How are we feeling? Because now...
Okay, but hold on, right?
Yeah, please.
The payoff to being negative the whole episode is everybody picks a victory.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, people.
Hold on. I called this game absolutely correctly, like dead on.
I called it procedurally correctly. There was three or more goals in this game.
So you're saying we're all winners here on this first episode of the postcast presented by Gold Star.
I'll say
we're all partially right.
2-1. The one was a bit aggressive, but I will say the referee and the entire third team was really working to get NYCFC another goal there at the end.
They were, 7 minutes was speculative, I would say, in terms of how the game was going. To answer your question, though, what we said all year was that this team needed to go into the playoffs with an identity and playing its best brand of soccer. So this was the best game this team has played probably since the 6-1 victory against Inter Miami. It was
the most complete the Philly match, but yeah, I'd agree.
The most complete game. They were solid in all phases of the game. And what I like about it is that it feels repeatable again, because we repeated this lineup that was successful on decision day on the road in a game Philly had to have. And you can talk about, there was an own goal, but you know what? Philly needed a win and they didn't get it. This lineup held them in check for the overwhelming majority of the match. They come back, they do it again here. It feels repeatable. And what did we look for? We were looking for, is Lucho Acosta being Lucho Acosta again? Check. Is the back line shored up? Based on this match, and most of the Philly match, I would say, other than the hiccup right at the start, they've played, I would say, going on now 170, 175 minutes of very good defensive soccer.
Yeah.
That's the winning formula for this team right here, is Lucho being Superman, the defending being good. And there's no reason to think they can't do it again in New York. And when they play this way, they have a puncher's chance against every team in this league. Every single one.
And there was nothing fluky about the performance. Like, there's nothing about it where you said, oh, this guy was like really on his day or anything. Right. I mean, these were all guys put in positions to succeed, but playing within, like, well within what you'd expect of them based on the quality of player.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one who, and I think that at this point in the season, you can't call it a surprise, is like Assad was, I think the season that Assad has had has been a surprise, but you've seen this from him many, many times this season. Yeah. And Luca's a really good player. Like, he's a really good player who had some nice dribbling runs, got himself in dangerous situations, almost scored a few goals. Kubo put in a ton of work, also had some opportunities, also was involved in generating offense. Obi wasn't perfect. Obi was Obi, right? Like, Obi had some great wins, was very effective in the midfield, also gave up some fouls in dangerous positions. Like, he, sometimes does. And so the only real outlier is arguably the back line. And that's really just teenage Hadebe. And it's hard to call it an outlier when he wasn't there all year.
Right.
I mean, but he's a player who came with a nice pedigree, needed time to get fit, but based on his pedigree and based on, what they signed him for and what they expected from him, it was this, right? Yeah. This is like why you signed him. He's not somebody who just had the game of his life or anything.
Right.
So, are they always going to have a good game? Probably not. Right. But is it totally fair to expect them to be able to play more or less like this moving forward? I think, yeah.
And the ceiling the floor for Hadebe is Ian Murphy, who was a starter or a regular contributor to a Shield team last year, and somebody who was regularly starting when this team was at its best. And you say Hadebe's performance was an outlier. I think that's true, but it also is just building on what we've seen of him the last couple of matches that he's been out there. So, like, it's the natural progression that he's been taking. And you could argue Kubo and Buka and Wobodo left something to be desired in their performances. So, like, there's even some a little bit that way. So, yeah, feels good. I don't know if we have I guess this could sort of be more in the preview part, but you gotta feel good once you see Columbus Crew drop one to Red Bull as well. So if you're looking at vibes towards the playoffs, things are looking real good.
Yeah. Well, that means they have to go 3 against Red Bull if they advance.
Which will actually be 4 because they played them on decision day.
And that's plenty of opportunity for Red Bulls to fuck over their season.
Yeah.
Even if Crew advance. And, better them than us. I still expect Crew to advance, but I'll say this, like, Red Bull soccer is like high variance, so there's no guarantee.
The at the office today, the one other soccer sicko that I on my floor at the workplace said Columbus went into last night trying to play soccer. Red Bull showed up to play Red Bull.
Yeah. Last year in the playoffs, not a single team advanced having lost the first game of the best of three.
So it was only Sporting KC, right? Was the only one that went on the road and won against St. Louis.
Correct. They were the only road team to win and then went on to take that series. Otherwise, I think that was even the only upset in the playoffs last year, which would make sense. Yeah, in the first round. So it's not a lot of history, but Columbus had to do something that hasn't been done yet. So we'll see what happens. With that, I say we head on over to part 2. Let's answer a couple of Patreon questions, and then we'll preview the match this weekend. So let's go do that. And before we get to that next part of the episode, I got to tell you about our other friends over at Cincy Shirts. Look, they've been with us from the beginning. They've been some of the earliest supporters of FC Cincinnati, and it is everybody's favorite spot to get Cincinnati apparel. Look, we're cheering on the FC through the playoffs, making the cup run. Get yourself some new gear, all right? Get yourself some watch party shirts and pick it up at Cincy Shirts. That's where you want to go. Hey, when you're there, use the promo code ThePostCincy. That's all one word, all caps. They'll knock 10% off of your order. You can use this in store, by the way. They've got 3 locations. You can find them over in Northern Kentucky, Loveland, and in Oakley Hyde Park. It's a really, really nice experience going in the store because you can make some slight modifications. You can ask for something a little bit different. For example, hey, by the way, we sell merch over at Cincy Shirts. You can use the link down in the description of this episode, or you can search The Post Cincy on their website. And we've got a bunch of shirts. One of those shirts is one that kind of looks like a jersey. All right. Kind of looks like a kit. If you go in store, you can get it printed on the back of the shirt. How about that? They also have youth sizes available. And I know that because I have outfitted my kids in Opie shirts. Okay. So don't let that be a hindrance to you. Cincy Shirts, it's awesome. Use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, 10% off. By the way, the code works on the Post's merch. How about that? You can double up. So head on over to Cincy Shirts, either in person or online. Link in the description. Pick up some new gear for the playoff run. They also have tons of Reds, Bengals, and basically every Cincinnati neighborhood represented in there. Go check them out. Huge thank you to Cincy Shirts. Huge thank you to you for using that code. All right, we are back. And before we get to that preview, folks, we have a Patreon. Believe it or not, it helps keep the lights on. And I know that feels weird to say now that we have Gold Star signed up, but it is true. Gold Star isn't guaranteed forever. And this is a nice, fun way for you to contribute to the show in a very fun, I'm not going to say meaningless, meaningful way. You get to ask a question that then gets asked on air because you paid us a couple of bucks. So if you want to do that, the link is in the description. It's also on the website. And you could probably Google it. I feel like you could get pretty far with the Googling. So we'll ask this one from Garrett. He asks, what was the punk rock joke?
So this is not Harry Potter. We are not going to be constantly revising old episodes and adding content that was not in the final text. Okay, each episode of the postcast is a wholly self-contained text and nothing exists outside of it. Okay. So if there's an allusion to a punk rock joke, it is because we just wanted to allude to a punk rock joke rather than tell a punk rock joke, which artistically serves a different purpose. So that's the answer. Also,
there's nothing less punk rock than having to explain a punk rock joke.
Yeah.
So there you go. That is the punk rock joke. In a lot of ways, you were the punk rock joke. We'll ask, this isn't so much a question so much as a comment, which I like. Drizzle says, I think we all know who is behind Boss Nation, and he will catch them Duke boys. But also the flag on their car is not appropriate anymore. This is a really good reference to a TV show that the vast majority of listeners will have never seen.
Are they more likely to have seen the Johnny Knoxville movie?
Is that the one with Jessica Simpson where she had the music video, These Boots Are Made for Walking?
Yes, she is Daisy.
Quality music video that you can watch on mute. I had this thought actually very similar to this that we're talking about right here in terms of like, that's a really old show. And like, you don't realize how old the Dukes of Hazzard is until you start doing the math, because on my Twitter timeline today or yesterday, it was that one of the child stars, I think Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement, was arrested for DUI, and it was like going through or something. He got arrested for something, and it was showing up on Twitter, and it said Home Improvement star. And I paused momentarily to think, what percentage of people on Twitter know that Home Improvement was a show?
Yeah, that's man, because like Dukes of Hazzard,
there was some cultural staying power with like the General Lee and the imagery and the iconic, like the
car in particular. Yeah,
not so much Home Improvement.
No, Al Borland. No, nothing.
Wilson the neighbor with the fence guy, face guy. But like it was like from that era of TV where every popular sitcom was the biggest thing in America because everybody only had like 30 channels. But also like you don't stop and you don't consider it until you stop. Like that show's like damn near 30 years old now at this point.
Right. God, I'm so glad you brought that up. There was a post on Ask Historians on Reddit that was really good. It was how famous was Ronald Reagan, the actor, and like does the Back to the Future
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
Yes. Does that make sense that like he would know him as an actor because he wasn't like, Tom Cruise or something. And they pointed out that
he was famous.
He hosted a General Electric television show, like I think it was a variety show or a theater show. And that show, I don't think was ever number one in the ratings, but was like in the top 10, was regularly getting 35 million viewers an episode. Whereas like earlier this month, the number one show on broadcast television was CBS's Tracker, which almost got 10 million viewers. Did not get 10 million, almost got 10 million. It just goes to show you that, like, man, broadcast TV is so fragmented and media consumption is so fragmented and broadcast TV is so further down the...
And if you want to make this conversation topical, if you're really annoyed by all the text messages you're getting from political candidates right now, that number right there, that the number one show in America only gets 10 million people watching it, is exactly why they send annoying text messages these days.
Yeah, it's hard to find everybody all in one spot.
Yeah.
So John Schneider, who played Bo Duke in The Dukes of Hazzard, later went on to star as Pa Kent in Smallville.
Great show.
Oh.
But in recent years, he has just made movies about like being canceled for flying a Confederate flag.
Oh,
you say movies plural, like there's
how many movies do you get out of this concept?
I think it starts. So there's several that I've heard of. The one that immediately swung to mind was 2019's Christmas Cards, which he wrote and directed.
Christmas
he plays
cards?
a character, Cars, Cars.
Okay.
Is this like where the cars are mad because they're rivaling with the Happy Holidays cars?
No, he plays like a fictionalized version of himself.
Oh,
and he's down and out, and he gets the idea that of selling like little models of the General Lee, which was the name of the car on the Dukes of Hazzard. For people that don't know, he gets the idea to start selling little miniaturized models of the General Lee to make some money, and then a bunch of liberals get mad at him. A bunch of college students or whatever.
I love this because what I imagine happened is he did try to sell
100%.
generally merchandise, but nobody cared, and so he had to imagine a world where people cared.
Is this like that one movie where the guy wakes up in a universe where the Beatles never existed and starts making money selling, like singing the Beatles songs? Like he is in a world where the Dukes of Hazzard never existed. And so he remembers the General Lee as this beloved type of car, and then starts selling General Lee to people that like, wow, I've always wanted a late model Dodge Challenger, orange in color with the Confederate flag on top. Why has no one ever done this before?
That would be really funny. That'd be really funny if either the Dukes of Hazzard never existed in that universe, or the Confederate flag had never existed.
This is a sick design.
This will shock you to learn this movie has 3.4 stars on IMDb.
That's probably more than it should have.
Although it does have this user review, 10 out of 10. Loved this movie. It's a heartwarming story.
Oh.
It says 14 people found this review helpful. 82 did not.
Oh, no.
Tom Woe. This is actually like kind of a tie-in to like a subject of a prior episode of the Postcast, which, by the way, we still have to do the sequel to that episode. They made a Jerry Springer opera some years ago.
That's
and
right.
Tom Wopat, the other guy from Dukes of Hazzard, played Jerry Springer in the Jerry Springer opera.
What a connection.
But we still have to do the episode. We still have to do an off-season episode where we watch some episodes of the Jerry Springer show.
I'm 100% down for this.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I was just going to say on the point of the Confederate design being
Yeah, let's stay on this topic.
Yeah, this is what Gold Star wants to hear.
Look, I'm just going to bring it into a soccer context for a second. It is not unheard of for red, white, and blue teams in Europe to fly the flag because they do think it is like a fun design. And I guess they're doing a Google search devoid of context, and they fly it, and they occasionally get in trouble for having done that.
So you know how Chicago just changed their name from Chicago Red Star because it's because the owners thought it was like communist seeming.
Yes.
Sorry, the Chicago NWSL team, not the Chicago Fire, the men's team.
Yeah.
Just in case people don't realize what we're talking about.
And they are separate owners. So yes.
Right. They're separate owners. I think the NWSL team is owned by the Ricketts that own the Cubs.
They are. I think that's new, but yes.
It is new. Well, it's they recently bought the team and now they're rebranding to the Chicago Stars.
Yes.
It'd be really funny if they changed the Chicago Red Star to what I'm sure is less objectionable to them, the Chicago Stars and Bars.
Which to be pedantic is not the same as the battle flag, which is what most people recognize as the Confederate flag. That is not the Stars and Bars. Those aren't bars, those are crosses. Anyway,
and this has been Talking Treason.
This is
the post-bellum.
Yeah, I was going to say this has been the post-bellum podcast.
We'll see if we can get Jonah to make music for that one too. Brett Sova asks, who's the most underappreciated player on FC Cincinnati? There's a couple of good candidates. I think for me, it's a debate between Assad and Kubo, but I'm happy to hear either the answer to that debate or another name.
It's hard to say Assad after we just spent the whole episode talking about what a great pickup Assad was.
He did ask this 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago.
It's worth.
The answer is, I think the answer is Kubo, because you can't get, because one, but like fans of other teams clearly have no idea like what to make of this guy.
Yeah.
But even like the national media, when they when they deign to mention him, it's usually like, this wacky lineup had Yuya Kubo at center forward. Right. Whereas like, yeah, the only reason he has not been playing center forward the whole time is because the team was a disaster when he came.
Right.
And they and he was like the only player, capable of playing in the midfield for so long. But people forget that, he was signed as a DP forward.
Right.
And once upon a time, he was on the same team as and outscoring Joseph Martinez in Europe, and he was in nearly every day or most of the time starter for a Bundesliga team.
Got caps and scored for the Japanese national team as a forward. Yep. What are we doing here?
He's probably the right answer. I just think that I personally rate him. So I can't say that he's underrated.
Right.
So I'll go with Yamil Assad. He's league minimum and is arguably one of the top 3 or 4 most important pieces on this team right now. So
the Yamillionaire, I think, is what you meant to say. Yeah, I was trying to explain it to my dad, and I was like, imagine if like Joey Votto spent 5 years in left field. You're like, well, you have a Hall of Fame first baseman or a bang average left fielder. That's kind of what we just did to Yuya Kubo. Not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but like 10 goals a season. We've been dying for that. So it'll
be an interesting topic in the offseason. This team is going to need to get a designated player striker through the door. We all agree on that. I am of the opinion as of right now that the striker pairing should be that designated player and Yuya Kubo. And that should be the plan going into the offseason at this point.
Or is it Orishano in this designated player and Kubo's first off the bench everywhere?
Well, hopefully we don't have to start talking about that until like January. So
agreed. Okay. And final question comes from Ryan Vossler, who asks, let's pretend for the next 10 years, you are only allowed to see 3 bands/artists as many times as you want perform in concert.
How long is the time? How many years do we have?
10 years.
Ooh.
They can be current or former. I don't know what that means, but I'll say like an existing band or one from the past. Who do you pick? I'm going to ignore they can be current or former. I'm just going to ignore that bit.
They got to be current.
They got to be current. You got to hitch your horse to a wagon right now. You got 10 years.
So like, are we like when he says that, does that mean that like we assume that this band will be playing for 10 years in the future? Or is it like if you pick one that's entering,
they
like
have to
the back? Okay.
Although like you could. No, I'm going to say you pick the Who and they all die off. I don't think you get to see the Who anymore.
That's kind of morbid. I don't know if I like that play on this.
I just was trying to name an old band. I'd say the Rolling Stones, but I don't think they're going to die.
When it comes to rock stars, I know that like the newer breed of rock stars aren't quite as rock and roll as the old ones were. Everyone's on borrowed time as a rock star.
Right. It's a good point.
All right, let's answer the question.
Well, I mean, I'll start out. It's just I've got mine already. I'm going to go see Dave Matthews. I don't care. Like that's my thing. It's kind of my thing.
Chief, isn't that just your answer for the past 10 years? Is that largely been the case?
Closer to 20, if we're being honest. I'll be seeing them up in Columbus in a couple of weeks. Yes, so that would be
shocking.
One of one right there. The David J. Matthews Band, Hall of Fame. David J. Matthews Band.
Okay.
So you're not seeing 3?
Oh no, I thought we were gonna go one around. Like,
no, just say 3.
Oh, 3.
Name
okay,
3.
Dave Matthews, Dispatch, and Guster.
I think I could have done Chiefs for him.
Yeah, no,
I feel pretty good about that.
I had a friend that got tickets and we're going allegedly to go see Oasis next summer. I don't think Oasis was going to make it to next summer. So I was like, how much do I owe you for these tickets? He's like, nothing, because we're not going to see this. It's not going to happen.
We'll deal with that the night before. Grayson, who are your 3 bands you're limited to for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I'm gonna go see the Mountain Goats. I'm gonna go see Orville Peck, and I'm going to see the Flaming Lips.
There you go. A very diverse lineup.
Can we make it 4? Because I feel like 4 is the magic number. It's like Mount Rushmore.
No, the question was 3.
You take it up with Ryan.
The man paid $2.
I know, but 3 is so limiting because I want to put Jim Trace on there too.
That's the point of it.
4 is pretty limiting when you think about all of music,
right?
4? Who's going to all these concerts all the time? 4? Kevin, what's your 3?
Here's my 3. You literally can take all the bands off the list. I don't go to concerts. That's just not my scene. I don't know the last time I went to a concert. No. The last time I went to a concert, like if I had to name one band, it'd be Jim Trace and the Makers. I see them regularly, and if I were some reason barred from attending one of their shows, my life would be awkward. Like, that's all I can think about. But like the last show I saw, I think it was 2016. I saw Weird Al with my dad and my brother. That's
a perfectly fine answer.
Okay, then Weird Al is it's Weird Al, Jim Trace and the Makers, and I'll let you guys pick who the third one is.
The third one has to be like a really like. I'm trying to think what the weirdest thing for Kevin to go see would be.
Fish. No, Kevin has to go see Fish. No, it's like it has to.
Right.
It's like, I'm fine.
These are things that we're forcing you to do now.
Yeah, like this is like Kevin's personal hell. Like, we're gonna take him to see like Fish or Goose or Widespread Panic or something like that.
I got nothing.
It's like you're at the concert for an hour and it's like, man, I can't wait to hear what the second song is.
This is sweet background music. When does the band start? There you go. That's where we're going to have to leave it. There are a bunch more questions, but my God, we are running out of time. So we will just carry this over into November. I have a feeling we're going to get to a bunch of these when we come across the international break in the middle of the playoffs. So hold tight. I know you paid. November's right around the corner. You get to ask another question, and I promise we will get to it. Thank you, everybody who asked your questions. Let's get on over to part 3. Let's preview the second and hopefully final match against NYCFC this season. All right, we are back. We are in the home stretch of the podcast, and we're hopefully in the home stretch of the best of 3 series against NYCFC. This is always a funny one because
we just did this.
We just played them. We know all the players.
Here's your preview. Go watch the match from fucking Monday.
It's going to feature all the same players with the exception of Tavon Gray. The 22-year-old Jamaican will not be there because at the very end of the game, in the 99th minute, turned around, lined up where Lucho was, closed his fist, and took a shot at Lucho's chin. Took it right in the face, and Lucho fell down holding his face. He got the red card right in front of Chris Penso, a experienced center referee who saw it, could help inform the situation. And upon appeal, it was rejected. They held up the red card ban. Despite the protests of what looked like every single pundit in the MLS sphere, he is indeed suspended for this game. So sucks to suck. And they're down their right back, which if you're Yamil Assad, things are looking good that they're going to have to go to their second choice back there.
I thought I don't understand where the controversy was in this. This is one of those things where I get mad that MLS punditry and the online Twitter sphere attempts to gaslight me into believing that there is subjectivity to rules for which there has never been subjectivity granted to FC Cincinnati. That I sat and I watched Lucho Acosta get suspended for making incidental contact to the head of Aaron Long. And I was told, I'm sorry, it is always a red card to make contact to the head of another player.
Yeah.
And here we have, it's clear as day. You can freeze frame it. Somebody's uploaded the clip onto the Post Discord. I have it freeze framed right here with Lucho Acosta being full on struck in the face by an extended arm. And you know what? Was it his intent to punch Lucho? I don't give a fuck, because I've been told in the past that contact to the head is an automatic red card. So spare me everything beyond what my eyes see in the freeze frame, and that is Lucho Acosta being struck in the face.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. He looks at him, he lines it up, he goes in with his elbow. Okay. All of that, I think, is incontrovertible. Like, there is no question that he is taking, and this is actually what I think happened, is that he saw an opportunity to get a little extra on Lucho, because he knew it was a dead ball. So he lined him up, and he's thinking, I'm gonna take a shot here, knock him on the ground, and just make him feel it, because we're gonna get a free kick, and this is just kind of an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Right. That's all well and good. And yeah, I would agree. If that's all that happened, I'd agree. Not a red card, yellow card. However, he does lose control. He does extend his arm with an open fist, and he does hit Lucho in the face with a closed fist.
Yeah.
He does hit Lucho in the face with a closed fist. And, did he intend when he lined it up to punch Lucho? I personally doubt it. But again, like you can't know what's in somebody's head.
Right.
All you can do is draw conclusions based on, actions. And when you engage in an action, you kind of assume responsibility for like the ways that action can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
The consequences of said action.
Like with every time like a guy goes in a tackle ends up like looking really bad and like seriously injuring the other player.
Yep.
Do you think the guy went into that tackle thinking, I want to like break this guy's leg?
Right.
Almost certainly not. Right. But they took a risk and it went wrong, and it went wrong in a bad way. And so they're accountable for the ways that their choices didn't necessarily end up the way they intended, but what ended up in a very predictable, possible way that is a foreseeable consequence of the thing that you're actually trying to do. Right. So like, I don't care if he went into that intending to punch Lucho or not. He did punch Lucho, and so occasionally you'll see an MLS pundit go on and be like, well, all these fans think that they're right, but I've actually read the laws of the game. And it's almost always BS. It's almost always BS. It's just somebody being smarmy.
Yeah.
Because we go back and forth on the laws of the game all the time. The laws of the game it's not like the secret plates that Joseph Smith found in the back of his yard that he then like lost and only he read them. Like they're online. You can read them. Like I got law 12
and they're published.
Fouls and misconduct right in front of me. And there's
binders full of laws.
one of the sending off offenses is what is called violent conduct. Okay.
Okay.
And there's there's a general definition of violent conduct. Then there's a second paragraph.
Ooh.
And the second paragraph says, in addition, a player who, when not challenging for the ball, deliberately strikes an opponent or any other person on the head or face with the hand or arm is guilty of violent conduct unless the force used was negligible.
That wasn't negligible force.
It was clearly not negligible force. He clearly struck Lucho in the head or face with the hand or arm, and he's not challenging for the ball. The ball is far away from them at the time that he makes this. The ball is gone.
Yeah.
So open and shut. I'm sorry. It is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this happened so late in the game.
Yeah.
That a guy makes a stupid choice, and does Lucho then make sure the ref saw what happened? Yeah, but he also got punched in the face.
Yeah, that hurts.
But between various possible reactions, another possible reaction that we do see quite a bit after a thing like that is there's a coming together.
Yeah,
where the teams start pushing and fighting each other. And I'd much prefer what Lucho did, just going down after being punched to allowing it to, snowball into something that could end up blowing back on, us.
Yeah.
It's
so funny reading that rule because, please correct me if I'm wrong. That's the same rule in the same language that got Lucho suspended with the incident with Aaron Long. So they would have said that the quote unquote headbutt was not negligible force, which is just adorable to think about.
I don't think it's the same rule, but we also in my view didn't get a
good explanation.
Didn't get a good explanation for what that was. I mean, part of it was they said part of it was they said that he touched the ref, which again, that's another thing that we've been told time and again is automatic sending off. And then we get to see players touch the ref all the time. I mean, this game we saw New York engage in multiple mass confrontations of the ref, which we'd also been told was, cardable, and none of those guys were carded. So,
and even after the game, the New York City coaching staff surrounded the referees, and it was awkward. Noonan had to go all the way over across the field to shake Nick Cushing's hand while he was still arguing with the refs. We'll never see anything about that, but of course Noonan had to be suspended because he yelled mean things at a referee one time. Well. Is anybody going to say we're not going to win this one?
I mean, there's a reason to think it's baseball field soccer.
There's absolutely a path to us not winning.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's very possible that we don't win the series. I think we win this game, and I think it's over.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the lineup is the same, other than put in Powell for Yedlin. I think everything else stays the same, and I think the FC wins. And I think the FC wins in this instance 2-0.
2-0 would feel nice.
I think that only because I think that the FC will go up, and then once they go up, there will be plenty of opportunities to score the second one, as New York has absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah. This does feel like a game where New York has 75% possession and FC wins.
Right.
I'm going 3-1. I think we go up, and New York kind of, eventually puts enough forward to get one in, and it doesn't matter.
I like it. I'm going to be very annoying. We win in penalties. 1-1. Roman Celentano comes up big on a save, wins the game for us.
If Roman saves a penalty, and we advance because of that, we're winning MLS Cup.
That really is sort of the last demon checked off the list. That is a good point. Think about it. Lucho got punched in the face in this game, and it was a good thing for us. Tell me that's not exercising an Aaron Bupenza-shaped demon right there. Come on.
There's I think it's like a Buffy where they have to like let themselves get possessed by this like couple that died so that they can confess like their feelings to each other and move on to the afterlife. And maybe it's something like that. Like a series of events have to happen that rhyme
right
with misfortune. Like NYCFC has to go into the ref's locker room and
an ill-timed pizza delivery changes the fate.
It would be really, really funny for the social media admin for FC Cincinnati just to have a picture of Miazga watching the game on TV with a pizza.
I mean, if by some chance we do get to host New York Red Bull in round 2, Miazga is the sword puller. Yes,
no doubt.
There's nobody else that can do it.
No doubt.
Yes.
Man,
I'm looking forward to it already. But
so
no,
good.
One game at a time. One game at a time.
Chief, I appreciate the effort it took you to get to your recording spot. The people will never know, the world will never know, but we'll know.
Someday.
And
maybe at the next live show, we share some stories from the episodes that never were. But
the behind the
fellas,
scenes,
vibes high, new sponsorship, Gold Star. We're giving away gift cards. We got shining moments, burgers, conies, shakes, chicken sandwiches. It's a whole new postcast, gentlemen.
The home of the Gorrito.
Yeah. I was thinking, do you think that they would ever do like a chimichanga Gorrito where they just deep fry the Gorrito? Because that sounds delicious.
They've got a fryer, right? Come on.
Yeah. Like a Cincinnati chili chimichanga.
I need like a Crunchwrap Supreme, but it's...
Or like they deep fry it and they put chili on top of it, like a sauce almost.
Oh.
Yeah. We're making money right here. This
Gold
is awesome.
Star nachos. Yeah.
No, this is good stuff. This is why you live in Cincinnati and why you don't live in San Diego. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. Also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.